Today what we're going to be doing is finding what's called the nth term, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute. But this is following the pattern work that we started yesterday. All the patterns that we're going to look at today and tomorrow, I think actually the rest of the week, are all going to be linear. Okay, so they're all going to be linear, and we'll build from there. So first of all, let's look at this sequence that I have here. It says, consider this sequence 20, 27, 34, 41, 48, and 55. All right, so I want you to find the next three terms. So this is just like what we did yesterday. So if I look, going from 20 to 27 is an increase of 7. 27 to 34, an increase of 7. 34 to 41, increase of 7, plus 7, plus 7, and so on. So I would need to add 7 to 55, right? I already have 55. So I need to add 7 more. So I'd have 62. Add 7 more. I get 69. Add 7 more. I get 76. All right, so there's my next three terms. These would be my next three terms. Okay, and that's what we did yesterday, right? Not a big deal. But what happens if I want to know what's the 200th term? So this would have been up here, this would have been term 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We found 9 terms. This is the 9th term, this last one. What if I wanted to find the 200th term? That would be horrible, right? First of all, I'd goof it up somewhere because I'd be bored out of my mind adding 7 that many times. And I'd probably make an addition error because I got distracted. Okay, so that would be terrible. So what we can do is we can, instead of counting out to the 200th term, we can do what's called writing a function rule. Okay, and sometimes this function rule is called the nth term. So n is like a variable, so I can put in however many terms I want. The 200th term, the 100th term, the 132nd term. Okay, so we're going to write this function rule that we can then plug in how many terms we want, and it tells us what the answer is. And you've actually probably already done this at some point, but I'm going to put it all together for you. All right, so everything we're going to be doing is linear. So we're going to look at slope-intercept form. So we're looking at y equals mx plus b. Okay, we can use y or we can use f of x. It doesn't matter which one. But remember, if we have mx plus b, we know m is slope. B is the y-intercept. Okay, so the slope of a line is how the line changes over time, right? So slope is how the numbers change. Well, we saw that last sequence there, that last series, it was changing by 7 every single time. That's our slope. Then we want to find the y-intercept. Another name for the y-intercept is the 0 term, and that's going to be pretty important here in a second. So what if I set up our numbers? So these numbers here are the same numbers I gave you to start with. So I just called it term 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like I had started to label back there earlier. Okay, so we noticed that our numbers were changing by 7 every single time, right? It was increasing by 7. That is our constant change. That is our slope. Okay, so I know my slope for this function rule, my slope is going to equal positive 7. Now we need to think about this thing called the 0 term. We need to think about that y-intercept. So the y-intercept happens when x is 0, or in our case, when we find that 0 term. Okay, so we're going to work backwards to find this 0 term. We want to fill in this blank right here. So we have to ask ourselves, what number plus 7 gave us 20? Or we can just do the opposite. We can subtract. 20 minus 7 would give us 13. So 13 has to be my b value, or my y-intercept, or your 0 term, however you want to call it. All right, so we now know our slope, and we now know our y-intercept. We did all the work for that. So So if we know our slope is 7 and our y-intercept is 13, remember when you have y equals mx plus b, we're replacing the slope and replacing the y-intercept. Right? So we're just plugging our slope in here in front of the x, and then our y-intercept is our constant. This is our function rule. So this right here is our function rule. Again, I don't care if you use y or f of x, whichever you prefer. So now we know we had y equals 7x plus 13, right? That was our equation. Well, what if I want to find the 200th term? This is why I like to use f of x, because now I want to find f of 200, meaning I'm plugging in 200 for the x, right? I replaced x with 200, so I need to replace this x with 200. So I'm going to take 7 times 200 plus 13. So 7 times 200 gives me 1,400. I still need to add 13. So that gives me 1,413. So f of 200 equals 1,413, which means the 200th term is 1,413. That's what we are figuring out. So if we would have kept adding plus 7, plus 7, plus 7, plus 7 all over and over and over and over again, we would have had 1,413. Okay, now that was a lot of slides and a lot of steps, but I was really trying to spell out each individual part. All right, so let's look at the whole process in a more condensed version. Okay, let's do it all start to finish here. So let's look at this this sequence here. Okay, the first number we're going to get that we're given is going to be term 1. The next one's going to be term 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in this case. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and draw in my table here just so it looks similar. So first of all, let's figure out how is it changing. Let's figure out every time. So from 7 to 2, it's going down, right? It's decreasing by 5. To go from 2 to -3, it went down by 5. Okay, so it's constantly subtracting 5. So my constant change is m, and I know that's -5. That's my slope. Okay, now I need to work backwards to find the 0 term. So I want to know what number did I take away 5 from and get 7? Or reverse it. 7 plus 5 gives me 12. So my 0 term, which is my b value, is equal to 12. So let's use f of x equals mx plus b. So f of x is equal to, my slope we know is -5, x, and then plus b, my b value was 12. There's my function rule. Okay, there's my nth term, or the function rule. Now, they want to know the 37th term. So I need to find f of 37. So -5 times 37 plus 12. So I get -173 plus 12, which is going to equal, no, I'm sorry, -185. That's -185 plus 12 equals -173. So the 37th term is -173. Oops, wrong pen. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try another one. Let's find the function rule, or the nth term, for this sequence here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and label again, right? We have our first term our second term, our third term, and our fourth term. And I'm going to make it look like a table. All right, so first thing we want to do is find our change. We want to find our slope. So how is this changing each time? To go from 8 to 10, that's an increase of 2. 10 to 12 is an increase of 2. 12 to 14 is an increase of 2. So my change is 2. It's a positive 2. Now I want to work backwards to get the 0 term. So what number did I add 2 to in order to get 8? So that would be 6. So my b value is 6. So let's go ahead and write our function rule. So we know f of x equals mx plus b. So in our case here, my slope is 2. And then my y-intercept is 6. In our situation here, they want to know what is the 25th term. So I want to find f of, sorry, I keep grabbing the wrong pen. F of 25, that's going to be 2 times 25 plus 6. So 2 times 25 is 50, plus 6 gives me 56. So the 25th term is going to be 56. Okay, last example. I want you to try this one. So I'm going to have, in a second, the substitute pause the video. I want you to try this. So do what I did before. Make your table, find your change, find your y-intercept, write your function rule, and then find the 25th term. So go ahead and pause the video. When everybody's ready, you can move forward. You can hit play again. Okay, hopefully you had enough time here. So I'm going to go ahead and label my terms. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms in this case. All right, there's my table. I notice it's increasing by 4 every time. So my slope is 4. And now I need to work backwards to get my y-intercept. So I had to have 3 as my y-intercept to add 4 and get 7. So my b value here is 3. So writing my function rule, f of x should equal 4x plus 3. I'm going to find the 25th term. So 4 times 25 plus 3. 4 times 25 is 100. Plus 3 gives me 103. So f of 25 should be 103. All right, so what you're going to do to practice this is you're going to do this on Delta Math. I did it this way so that it kind of checked you as you went and you knew whether you're right or you're wrong. Okay, there's also a work page to go with it. So I've set it up so I give you like blank tables like this. Like I gave you the 0, 1, 2, 3, and they're going to tell you those numbers to fill in. Then I give you a little bit of work space to do this part because they give you like find the 82nd term or whatever it is. Okay, so in Google Classroom, there is an assignment posted for the Delta Math, but the first link you want to click on is to join our class. Okay, so click on that link so that you can join our class. Then you should be able to see the assignment posted there. When you're done, make sure you turn in your work page to the teacher, and then I will get those and double check it with Delta Math and then give you credit for those.